thanks, a massive thanks, obviously, to Branches Christian Fellowship for hosting us. The most important thing is to say that this is the first big step towards delivering £20 million for Smallbridge and Hurstead, and also Belfield. We say Smallbridge and Hurstead, but actually it does include Belfield, a chunk of it as well. So we might need to change the name so people in Belfield really know it's for them as well. The most important thing is to say this is community-led. It's not led by me, certainly not led by the council. And the reason we're doing this is it's a novel way of doing things. We're trying to make sure that people know that they're in the driving seat with this £20 million. That's £2 million a year for the next 10 years, guaranteed funding from the government. And the Labour government has made it a commitment that in lots of areas around the country, places that have been neglected for far too long are going to get some money at last. But it's not just that matters. It's the way we do politics, the way we do things should change as well. In other words, not people from on high telling you, we've got 20 million quid, we think it should be spent on this. What I've been saying when I've been knocking on doors around and about everywhere is that you tell us what you think your priorities are. And that's what this evening's about. It's a first attempt to sort of get that sort of public consultation off the ground. There'll be lots more events, lots more engagement. This isn't a one-off. It's just the start of a conversation, hopefully. But the most important thing for me is that I'm really proud of being the MP for Rochdale, but the whole point of Pride in Place is that everyone knows that you're really proud of where you live and the locality you live in. And that's what really is driving this. It's your pride in your area that will tell us, actually, we're really proud of our area, but it's got loads of challenges. And can you help us unblock some of those obstacles? Can you spend a bit of money here, a bit of money there? What is Pride in Place programme? Right, I'll explain this. Basically, the £2 million a year for 10 years in selected neighbourhoods of around 10,000 people. Because they worked out, actually, you could make a big difference with that money in a relatively small area. It's designed for areas that are doubly disadvantaged, not just through the usual measures of how the social deprivation of an area, but also if they're infrastructure poor, for example, if the infrastructure just isn't there. And obviously we know about Smallbridge and Hurstead and Belfield that it does lack some of that basic infrastructure, and we've got to do our best to try and fix it. Now, this is all about long term. It's not about a quick fix at all. It's not like, literally 1 year we're here and then we're flying out again. It's about a 10-year programme. And the key thing is that money is secure. So the funding objectives are, we want to build stronger communities, make sure, we know they're pretty strong already, we want to make them even stronger, a sense of belonging for people, a recognition that people are really proud of where they live, really proud of it. They're really proud of the streets around them, but the sense of the community more widely, is that strong enough? Could it be stronger? How can we help? How can this money help? It's all about creating thriving places. Lots of places are already thriving. I know a lot of the schools do fantastic work, and the schools are going to be integral to this because they are the heartbeat of every community, whether it's at primary school or at secondary level. The schools know exactly what's going on, and mums and dads and nans and granddads, they take their kids to school and they get that feedback regularly, the teachers, and what's happening in their area. So schools are going to be really important. Parks, high streets, local facilities, they're all the kind of things we're thinking. If you want to just express your opinion how they can be improved, let us know. But crucially, it's about empowering people and giving local people a real say. That's the big difference between this and any other previous amount of grants or fundings or promises you've ever heard before. It's about local people being in the driving seat, and that will be the real test of this. So there's no bidding for funding. This is guaranteed money. And there's no complex business cases that have to be made. Obviously, normal rules have to apply, and the money's got to be well spent. But the point is the community are going to do it. So what does this area cover? Let's look at the map. Now, it's a bit hard to see up there, but basically, there's the boundary that is set by central government. They have these weird sort of areas that they carve a little boundary around. But by and large, it's most of Smallbridge and Hurstead and Belfield. And the boundaries, though, do have a bit of flexibility, the government has told us. So if it's not quite right, they can move a few streets here or there. So we're suggesting maybe bringing in some of the other areas into the area. Ashbrook Hay Lane, Ashbrook Grove Crescent, Oakcliff Road, Steps Meadow, they could all come in, and that would make sense. You can see those areas there in yellow. They're not in at the moment. And again, similarly in Belfield, it would make a lot of sense to have Waterman View, Belfield Old Road, Gibson Street, Samson Street, Pearson Street and Belfield Close brought in, and the top of Belfield Lane. But we want to keep the focus on the community and not spread it too thin. We don't want the area to be too big, because otherwise the money won't have as much impact. This is all about making sure that this money does travel a long way, but make sure it's within a certain area. So the deadline for the boundaries is 17th of July 2026, that's next year. So we've still got quite a lot of time to work out those boundaries if we need to. So next, who decides how this money is spent? Well, a neighbourhood board's going to be created. Now, they've got to be transparent in everything they do. This is public money at the end of the day. It's a Labour government giving a community some money, but we've got to make sure that it follows all the rules of transparency. Everything's got to be published in papers, the agendas, the minutes, the decisions, any conflicts of interest, any payments of expenses to the chair or the board members. And one thing I'm pushing for really hard is because I know a lot of people are not just cash poor, they're time poor. So asking people to get involved in something like this is quite a commitment. So what I've said to the government repeatedly, and they've listened, is that we might be able to give some sort of payments to some board members, simply because, say you've got childcare at the weekend, how do you pay for that? Or if it's during the week at a board meeting and you might be at work, how do you juggle what your demands are? So there may well be some payments for some board members. It would be depending on who joins. Crucially, it must reflect the community, this board, though. So it's residents, volunteers, people who work here, businesses, faith leaders, youth voices, schools, as I say. But everyone will have a strict code of conduct to make sure they don't benefit personally from any of the decisions. You can benefit various organisations that are obviously doing hard work in the area, but that's the rough ground rules. The board will be led by an independent local chair. Someone who's respected and rooted in the community is the main criterion for this. But they cannot, and this is worth me stressing, the chair of this cannot be an elected official. It can't be me, it can't be a councillor, it's got to be someone from the community. And that is really, really worth saying. The chair must be approved by the government. Obviously, you've got various checks, but then they will lead the recruitment of the rest of the board. So we need ideas for who should be on the board. And again, that's one of the reasons we're here tonight. The board must listen first before it does anything. So it's got to consult the community. The board can't suddenly become a law unto itself. Everything it does has got to be consulted on with the community and residents. And if it doesn't do that, the government will step in and say, sorry, you can't spend that money because you haven't done enough consultation. So this is a double check on making sure this is really residents represented. So it can't be some sort of closed shop. So who signs off the cash? Well, legally, in the short term, the way the government's constructed this is the council has to be the accountable body initially. That's just an accounting thing. So they're the ones who make sure every pound's spent properly within the rules. But the decisions about what gets funded comes from the neighbourhood board. So effectively, the council will be almost like an accountant, just checking on things. That's to start off with. But by year 3 of this, and don't forget, as I keep saying, this is a long-term thing, a 10-year thing, the board will be led entirely by the community, possibly by becoming a community interest company, a charity, or a cooperative. So it would be a completely independent entity, and it will do the sign-off, not the council, after 3 years. So that's what we want to get to. We want to get to the stage. Again, this is new, it's radical, it's central government saying, here's a pot of money. It's not just a pot of money, you're responsible for it. You're the accounting body for it as well. My role is basically here to support residents and support the neighbourhood board and the chair. I'll be on the board, but all I'll be doing is championing what the board does. The most important thing for me is making sure that everyone is represented, and that's the key thing for me. So what's been done so far? Let's have a look. We've done door knocking in the rain and the dry. Virtually every weekend since this was announced, we've been knocking on lots of doors, and it's been really valuable talking to people. And most people can't believe it. When you knock on the door and you say, look, we've got 2 million quid a year for you and 20 million quid over 10 years. But most people say, yeah, okay, I don't quite believe that. But it is actually true. And when you say, look, this is guaranteed money, it's a guaranteed funding stream, then they say, all right, well, actually, and we ask their opinion, they say, well, the one thing that came out in Belfield was, look, there's no floodlights, the kids can't play at night on the football pitch. the football pitch isn't 3G, it's really marshy, it's muddy. Or around the park down there, you know, it's really muddy to push a buggy. All these things, or for example, the community centre down there, people said, why has that been closed for 7 years? Can't you reopen it? That kind of thing. And they said, could you have a nursery there? Could you have an old people's club? Youth provision in and around here in Smallbridge. There's a big demand we've got from knocking on doors. There's lots of ideas. What we've done, though, to get there in the first place is not just knock on doors, is to make sure that we run Facebook adverts, trying to get as many people as possible to get engaged. We've written to every household, and hopefully everyone's got the letter. We're doing an online survey. And some of these early themes, as I just mentioned, are already emerging, and we want to hear from you tonight about what more themes there should be. Safety, antisocial behaviour, youth provision, they're all really big items that we've got from the feedback so far. Parking, big one. Traffic flow, anything to do with cars. Parking, traffic flow, congestion. Potentially a new relief road. Will that be built? Can it become a reality? Can even a little bit of this cash help make that a reality? And we all know in the last week how miserable life has been on that. Cleaner environment is a big issue for everyone, we've noticed. Green spaces, people love the fact there's a lot of green space around here, but can they use it better? Is it up to standard for them to use it with them and their families? Walking and lighting, really, walking facilities, lighting, the basic things, especially around Belfield Park. Access to health and community services is a big one. Should we have a new health and community hub here in Smallbridge? Maybe next to where the library is, maybe on the precinct. We can think big because we're allowed to think big because we've got a big amount of money. That £2 million a year is a lot. And the way the capital and revenue is split for this from the government means that we can have enough money to keep things running, but also enough money to invest in new buildings, in new pavements, in new infrastructure. Parking challenge in Ditton Mead is a big thing. I know that in and around the area. And again, I know the council are trying to fix that, certainly within the next few months. But again, this money, if we need to, can help supplement that if we need to. I know it's a big issue for people not having enough parking space, and we totally get that. But again, this has got to come from you, not from me. The most important thing is nothing is decided. This is just the starting point, and I really want to stress that. And so tonight's all about those conversations everyone has, and we can record them with the staff at the back who are brilliant. So why does tonight matter? Well, actually, it's really not just a great big shopping list of things we want. It's about the values and vision of the area. It's about, you know, what do we really stand for? What do we really value in Smallbridge, Hurstead and Belfield? And crucially, all about that consultation with residents. I'll bore you to death with it, but it won't happen unless it comes from the local people, from the grassroots up, and that's what this is all about. So we're going to have to have a 10-year plan. It's about what kind of neighbourhood you want to live in, what stands in the way of that vision, what you care about, but also about a shared understanding of what the whole area wants. And I know within the area there'll be little differences, and individual specific areas will have different demands as well. So the table conversations we're going to have tonight. There's tables at the back here. The most important thing is that each table's got a question on it. And we want you to sort of talk to our team or write things down to tell us what you want. It's about vision and values. That's what we're trying to say. So the first one is, what community do you want to live in? One of those tables. So this again is about friendliness, pride, safety, fairness. How do you want others to feel about your place? That's a really important question. You know there might be an external perception of what people think of your area, but you live it every day. You know what the reality is like. How can we help with that? The second one is, what stands in the way of a better future? And you know, broken infrastructure, safety, lack of facilities, poor maintenance, to be honest, mistrust of politics in general. They're all the things that we need to get your feedback on, and how we can improve it. How should the 20 million be spent? We're looking for sort of broad directions on your priorities. You can come up with individual things if you like, absolutely. But at this stage, we're looking for big picture stuff as well. And as I say, this is a constant process, so we'll keep coming back and asking people what they want. Who would make a strong board member is one of the tables as well. So really what we're looking for are people who listen and don't sort of dominate things. That's what this is all about. It's about consultative approach. Someone who's trusted, respected. They can be well known, but they don't have to be well known. Our volunteers, faith leaders, as I say, teachers, business owners, really, really important not to forget the business owners, and community workers. There's so much great work that happens locally that a lot of people don't know about, and we want to know about it. So I'd encourage you all to visit each table, get a post-it out and write down some ideas, or we can write them down on your behalf. And also just have a bit of a discussion, really. I think that's what we're trying to do. I just want to keep emphasizing there is no right or wrong answer. There really isn't. What we want is to hear what you think. And that's the most important thing. So finally, how will all tonight feed back into the plan? Well, the whole point is this, what we hear tonight will feed back into the early draft of what we're trying to do. And we can combine it with constant door knocking and again with online feedback. And crucially, it's about what further engagement, where we're missing people, what we're not listening to. We want to know all the time. If someone says, actually, you haven't thought of that, that's really valuable. Because we can't think of everything. This is all up to the community to sort it out. So that will help inform who we recruit for the chair and the board as well. And I keep saying this isn't a one-off. We're going to keep coming back to doing it. So just thanks once again for coming. I've talked far too much. It's not about me. This is all about shaping the next 10 years of this area and being totally committed to it and not letting up in that commitment. And every year, there's going to be £2 million. Now, the profile of how it will be spent can be changed as well. But we're also going to get some government cash to help people with the consultation. And we're already thinking maybe of a sort of family fun day where we can get people, we can have free food and drink, you can have maybe a bouncy castle and stuff, just to get as many families involved as possible. This is really, really important about making sure that as many people know about it. We can't just have a small group of people just trying to make decisions for everyone. We want to get as many people involved as possible. And the key thing is just tell us what you really think. As I say, there is no right or wrong answer. And once that board is set up, they need to hear what the community is thinking at all times. So without further ado, I invite you all to go to the tables, and I'll be moving between them and take your pick.